The skyline never lied. That's what Harper Quinn used to believe. As a child, she traced the outline of every building with her fingertip through her bedroom window, dreaming, designing, promising herself she'd one day be part of something permanent. Something magnificent. Unlike people. Unlike feelings. Unlike her father. Now, 32 years old and bone-tired, she stood on the 67th floor of the Halifax and Dean Tower, a glass cathedral she had designed, and wondered how long it would take before someone else's name replaced hers in the blueprint. "Miss Quinn, you have lipstick on your teeth." Madison Lane. Blonde, always polished. Always loud enough to remind you she was in the room, but never loud enough to take the fall for anything. Harper smiled faintly, wiped her mouth without looking in a mirror. "Thanks." "Big meeting today," Madison chirped, clutching her tablet like it held the key to the universe. "Richard's flying in, the Saudi investor. Your concept's the centerpiece." "Our concept, you mean?" But Harper said nothing. She had learned early in her career that in the world of skyscrapers and egos, words were weightless. What mattered was who said them loudest and in front of the right people. The boardroom was full of faces she'd once admired. Richard Dean, co-founder. Judith, the VP. 2 interns pretending not to be terrified. And then there was Madison, seated at the head like she belonged there. Harper took her seat quietly at the side like always. Her laptop open, her notes prepared, her fingers calm even as her stomach turned. This was supposed to be her moment. The pinnacle. Her tower. But when Madison's presentation began, Harper's blood ran cold. Every single slide. Her design. Her layout. Her annotations. But not once did Madison say her name. "The vertical gardens flow seamlessly into the communal wind terraces," Madison beamed. "A concept I've been refining for months." She even copied the typo in Harper's draft. Wind terraces. It was supposed to say winged terraces. Harper didn't speak. She watched. Observed. Felt the heat crawl up the back of her neck, not from shame, from fury. No one noticed. Or if they did, they pretended not to. That night, Harper sat in the women's restroom long after the meeting ended. Her phone buzzed once. A message from her younger brother. "Proud of you. Mom said you finally presented that skyscraper idea." She stared at the screen for a long time before responding, "Yeah, I did." Then she deleted the message thread. The email came at 2:14 a.m. Harper read it under the cold glow of her laptop, barefoot in her living room, surrounded by crumpled notes and half-drunk tea. To all staff, Halifax and Dean is honored to announce Madison Lane as the lead architect for the Riyadh Sky Project. Her visionary approach exemplifies the next generation of sustainable design. Her hand didn't tremble. Her chest didn't heave. Harper just stared until her eyes dried out and the screen blurred. Not even a footnote. Not even a goddamn thank you in the margin. This wasn't just erasure. It was a burial. She clicked open the shared project files. Gone. The entire folder had been wiped clean of her revisions. No metadata, no timestamp. It was as if Madison had birthed the tower alone, immaculate and divine. But Harper knew better. And worse, she knew how Madison worked. 3 years ago, Madison had been just another junior, hungry, ambitious, charming. Harper had taken her under her wing. Helped her navigate late nights, client meetings, and panic attacks. They'd shared drinks after deadlines. Swapped stories about crappy exes. Laughed over burned ramen and bad renderings. Now Harper saw it all differently. Every smile had been a strategy. Every "you're amazing" a rehearsed line. Madison hadn't just stolen her work, she'd studied her. Learned her weaknesses. Her silences. Her patterns. And Richard Dean? He had known. Harper recalled the closed-door meetings Madison had with him. The late-night elevator rides. The mysterious last-minute changes she was never informed of. The way Richard always looked just past Harper, never at her. She closed the laptop gently, walked to the window and stared at the same skyline she used to love. This was war. But she wouldn't fight it with fire. She'd fight it with silence. With precision. With patience. Let Madison enjoy her throne. The higher she climbed, the farther she'd fall. For the next 2 weeks, Harper said nothing. She showed up early. Left late. Nodded through meetings. Sipped her coffee. Smiled when expected. All while watching the people who thought she was finished. She had learned from buildings you didn't demolish from the top. You undermined the foundation. First she needed evidence, so she started small. She walked into the IT department with a coffee and a lie. "My intern accidentally deleted something from our cloud archive," she said sweetly. "Any way to recover file history from 3 months ago?" The tech guy, Jordan, 24, always smelled like Monster Energy and regret, barely blinked. "Yeah. If it's synced with our server, I can probably restore the previous logs." By the end of the day, Harper had a time-stamped folder with her name all over it. Her sketches, her voice notes, her original drafts. Madison hadn't even bothered to change the file names. Just moved them into her own folder like Harper wouldn't notice. Like she didn't matter. That night, Harper sat in her dark apartment, scrolling through the documents while classical piano played softly in the background. And then, Alike G notification. You might know. Noah Sinclair, former legal counsel, Halifax and Dean. She blinked. Noah. He had left the firm a year ago, suddenly and without warning. Rumor had it there had been some kind of ethical dispute, but no one talked about it. He had always been decent to her. The kind of man who didn't laugh at sexist jokes in the break room. Who remembered interns' names. Who once told her, "If you ever need to disappear something, or make something reappear legally, call me." She clicked connect. 30 minutes later he responded. "Hey Harper. Been a long time. What did they do?" The next morning they met at a bookstore cafe in Soho. No sweets. No pleasantries. Just the truth. She slid a flash drive across the table. "Everything's on here." Noah scanned the files. His brows lifted. "They screwed you over bad." She nodded. "I'll help," he said simply. "But I don't work for free anymore. I need something in return." Harper looked up. "What?" He grinned. "Your brain. I've got a new client, a startup out of Chicago. They need someone brilliant. You'd be perfect." She stared at him. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a way out and a way to burn the house down on your way out." "You don't just leave a legacy," Harper said, eyes fixed on her own reflection in the dark cafe window. "You build it. Quietly. One line at a time." Noah leaned back, nodding slowly. "Then let's start drafting." Over the next 3 weeks, Harper played her role to perfection. She feigned oblivion. She congratulated Madison in front of the team. She handed over files she no longer cared about. She listened to office gossip without adding a word. And every night she emailed Noah. Her inbox was a blueprint of vengeance. Emails Madison forwarded without credit. Meeting recordings where Harper's voice led and Madison just nodded. Invoices tied to Harper's research time under Madison's name. A personal memo from Richard Dean referring to Harper's replacement timeline. There it was. Proof. They weren't just stealing her work, they were preparing to erase her completely. In parallel, Harper began designing something else. Her exit. She updated her portfolio. Quietly built a project archive with date-stamped backups. Accepted Noah's startup offer, conditional on her complete departure in 60 days. She also planted seeds. A conversation with Judith in the elevator. "I heard Richard's presentation got rejected by the investors. Shame. I thought Madison had it all under control." A casual remark in the break room. "The vertical gardens were actually my capstone thesis. I guess some people forget who they work beside." Just enough. Let suspicion breathe. Let cracks form. Let the walls begin to shift. One afternoon, Harper dropped a file into Richard Dean's office, deliberately leaving behind a printed draft of her original rewrote concept. Complete with her initials and a timestamp. She watched through the glass wall as Richard picked it up, frowned, read, and swore under his breath. She smiled. That night, Harper returned home to a bottle of Merlot and an email from Noah. "I spoke to someone on the board. Quietly. They're intrigued. One more push. Something public. Something undeniable. You ready?" Harper didn't reply right away. Instead, she pulled out a blueprint roll from under her bed, the original signed rewrote concept. Her name handwritten at the bottom in black ink. She snapped a photo. Typed a message. "Let's show the world what a real architect looks like." On Monday morning at exactly 8:17 a.m., a link began circulating on LinkedIn. Anonymous tip. The real architect behind the Riyadh Sky project? The post included 3 things. A side-by-side comparison of the official project and Harper's original concept from 2 years prior. Screenshots of metadata showing Harper as the file creator. A short paragraph stating, "Sometimes the tallest buildings cast the darkest shadows." Within hours, it hit 20,000 views. By noon it had 60,000. By evening it was viral. Inside Halifax and Dean, chaos bloomed like mold in the walls. Richard called an emergency meeting. Madison was pale. Her usual smooth, smug tone was now frayed with panic. Harper sat in the back row, silent, watching. "Someone's clearly trying to sabotage us," Madison snapped. "This is clearly fabricated. Harper never brought up any of this." All heads turned. Harper lifted her gaze slowly. "I assumed you'd prefer credit for your work." Silence. Judith, who had said nothing for weeks, finally cleared her throat. "Madison. The file timestamps line up. Your presentation pulled directly from Harper's archived versions. Did you?" "I enhanced them. Everyone collaborates, except," Harper said quietly, "I never saw the final deck. Nor was I invited to the Riyadh dinner. Nor was my name ever mentioned until now." Richard's face hardened. "We'll investigate this thoroughly." But Harper knew what that meant. They were cornered. They just didn't realize how much yet. The next day, the architecture blog Vertical Vision published a feature. "When Credit Disappears, the Harper Quinn Scandal." It was scathing. A renowned Saudi investor quoted, "We were told this was Madison Lane's solo concept. Had we known the design was authored by someone else, we'd have reconsidered our collaboration." Harper didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Her inbox flooded with interview requests. Her portfolio views skyrocketed. Her name, the one they tried to erase, was now etched across every news feed in the industry. That Friday Noah called. "They're bleeding Harper. One final cut." She already knew what it would be. The employee harassment records. She'd filed quiet complaints over the years, all ignored. Brushed off. Buried. But she had copies. Names. Dates. Meetings. She didn't need to scream. She just had to send a single elegant email to Halifax and Dean's investors and board. Attached are records of internal negligence, intellectual theft, and targeted erasure of female contributors within your firm. I believe the silence is ending. Best, Harper Quinn. Halifax and Dean resembled a collapsing cathedral. Rumors weren't whispered anymore, they echoed. One intern cried in the hallway. Another quietly printed out his resume. The receptionist no longer smiled at guests. And Richard? He stopped making eye contact altogether. Madison's office door remained closed for 2 days straight. And Harper? He just kept showing up. Same coffee. Same calm expression. Same silence. Only now, when she walked past the drafting tables, people paused. Some nodded. One young designer even whispered, "Thank you." On Wednesday, Richard called her in. He didn't offer a seat. "Let's not play games," he said, folding his arms. "This smear campaign, it's beneath you." Harper tilted her head slightly. "Smear implies fiction. I've simply corrected the narrative." "Do you want money? Recognition? What's your end game, Harper?" She stood slowly. "I wanted to build something lasting. Something with integrity. You turned that into a power game." He scoffed. "You're acting like this is personal." "It is." And with that, she placed her employee badge on his desk. "I'll be gone by Monday." That night, Harper returned to the Halifax and Dean Tower, the one she designed. She stood outside as lights flickered on above, illuminating the glass panels. Her building. Her lines. Her breath in steel. She traced the structure with her eyes, remembering the long nights she spent in this city, sketching, doubting, starting over. People would walk past this tower for decades, never knowing the woman behind it. But now they would. Back home, Harper opened an old voice memo on her phone. One she'd forgotten she recorded years ago when she first dreamed up the tower. "Maybe buildings can't forgive, but maybe we can build something that outlasts pain. Something that reminds the world we were here." She smiled softly. There was no rage in her now. No hunger to hurt. Just peace. And the hum of new beginnings. The next morning, the news broke. Breaking. Halifax and Dean under formal ethics investigation after whistleblower reveals internal fraud and harassment. CO Richard Dean steps down pending inquiry. Madison Lane placed on indefinite leave. Harper didn't celebrate. She packed her things, left behind a note on her desk. Design with dignity. Or don't design at all. Then she walked out of the firm that stole her and into a future that couldn't be taken. Chicago smelled different. It wasn't the coffee or the wind or the lake. It was the absence of ghosts. Harper arrived on a rainy Thursday, one suitcase in hand and no plans to look back. Noah's startup Horizon Atelier was modest but buzzing with life. No mahogany walls, no ego-driven hierarchies, no golden plaques. Just blueprints taped to brick walls and people who actually listened. She was given a corner desk. No title. No pressure. Just space. And that was enough. The first few weeks were quiet. He kept to herself. Sketched in the margins of napkins. Showed up early. Left late. Old habits. But she wasn't invisible anymore. A junior designer named Priya started leaving muffins on her desk. The team invited her to Thursday trivia night. One even brought in a book titled Women Who Build and asked her to sign it. At first she resisted. Then slowly she exhaled. One evening, Harper sat alone in the studio, staring at a blank sheet of tracing paper. She didn't know what to draw. For the first time in years, there was no client, no deadline, no one to impress. Just her. The pen in her hand trembled. And then she did something she hadn't done since college. She closed her eyes and sketched without thinking. A curve. A hollow. A broken shape made whole again. When she opened her eyes, it was imperfect. But it was hers. Noah passed by, paused. "What is that?" He shrugged. "Something that doesn't need to be approved." He smiled. "Good. We're starting a new competition piece next week. You in?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah. I'm in." That night she walked along the river. The city lights glimmered on the water like distant promises. Her phone buzzed. New email from Vertical Vision magazine. Subject: Harper Quinn. A quiet revolution in modern design. She opened it slowly. A feature article. Her story. Her buildings. Her truth told in her own words for the first time. And at the bottom a quote: "She didn't destroy them with fire. She rebuilt herself with grace." 2 months later, Harper's name was everywhere. Podcasts. Panels. Print covers. She wasn't chasing the spotlight, but it found her anyway. She turned down Architect Digest twice. Accepted an interview with a small women in design collective instead. Her inbox overflowed. But this time she was the one choosing who got a reply. One Monday morning, Harper walked into Horizon Atelier and found her team staring at a monitor. "What's going on?" Noah waved her over. "You've been nominated." "For what?" He rotated the screen. "The Eames Prize for Emerging Global Voices in Architecture." Harper froze. "That's impossible. I'm not emerging. I've been here. Working. Building. Bleeding." Noah nodded. "Exactly. That's why you deserve it." The nomination came with attention, and with it, Madison Lane's shadow reappeared. An industry blog posted an op-ed titled, "The Redemption of Harper Quinn and the Silence of Madison Lane." The comments were brutal. Harper didn't respond. Not publicly. Not to the press. But one day she got a handwritten letter in the mail. From Madison. It was short. "You won. But I hope you realize you lost something too. I never wanted to be you. I just wanted to be seen. M." Harper stared at it for a long time. Then she folded it, walked to the edge of the river and dropped it in. Some things didn't deserve to be archived. Weeks passed. Her project at Horizon evolved into a city park installation. Open air, winding walkways, suspended glass arches. Her first truly public, truly unclaimed design. No skyscrapers. No towers. Just space to breathe. At the opening ceremony, a little girl walked up to her holding a sketchbook. "Are you the lady who made the see-through bridge?" Harper smiled. "Yes. I want to build bridges too." Harper knelt down beside her. "Then don't let anyone tell you your lines don't matter." Later that evening, someone asked Harper how it felt to be on top. She took a breath, looked out at the horizon and replied, "I'm not on top. I'm just not underneath anymore." The letter came on a Wednesday. Unassuming. Cream-colored. Handwritten return address from Connecticut. Harper hesitated before opening it. It was from her mother. I saw the article. Your father would have been proud. Maybe he didn't say it enough, but he believed in your mind. I hope someday we can talk not about what happened but about what's still possible. Love, Mom. Harper folded the letter carefully and tucked it into the drawer beside her bed, right next to her original Riyadh sketches, now wrapped in ribbon instead of bitterness. She didn't call her mother. Not yet. But she didn't throw the letter away either. Later that week, Harper stood in the heart of her finished installation. It had no roof. That was intentional. Skylight poured down through curved steel arches, casting soft geometric shadows on the people who wandered beneath it. Children laughed. Couples held hands. Tourists took photos without knowing who had designed it. And that was okay. Not everything needed a name. Not everything needed credit. Some things just needed space. To breathe. To become. To begin again. A familiar voice called out across the garden. Queen. She turned. Noah. He held 2 coffees and a grin. They want you in Milan. Design Biennale. Keynote. Harper chuckled. Tell them I'm busy. I've got a bridge to sit under. He handed her the coffee anyway and sat beside her on the edge of the fountain. I ever tell you what I thought the first time I met you? He asked. No. I thought. She doesn't even know yet how dangerous she'll become. Harper smiled. Turns out I didn't have to destroy anyone. Even better, Noah said. You built something instead. They sat in silence. Not heavy silence. Not bitter. Just stillness. Like standing in a building after the construction noise fades and all that's left is light. That night, Harper wrote one final note in her journal. Some people burn bridges. I built mine. Brick by brick. Over water they never thought I could cross. And when I looked back, they weren't even standing on the shore.